Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. I am Ryan Lincoln, and I'm back with my co-host, Brady Penn. We are on the Blitz Angle tonight, and we are talking award winners before NFL honors happen next Thursday in New Orleans. We will be down there for you guys, providing exclusive coverage. So make sure you guys have the notifications on for all of our social medias. We'll be getting exclusive interviews, hopefully a player hopping on the pod. We'll see what happens, and we're going to get into all of our awards. So we're going to start this show with our preseason predictions, Brady. And for those of you guys that don't remember, guys, they aren't very good. We were a little closer on the postseason picks. Player picks, we were completely off. MVP, we both had Mahomes. Defensive player of the year, I had Max Crosby. Brady had Roquan Smith. Both had pretty good years. Not good enough, unfortunately. Offensive player of the year, I had CeeDee Lamb. You had Bijan. Bijan had a great year. CeeDee Lamb had a above average year.
He was still alive, bro. He was still really good.
Yeah. I mean, he just didn't have the year. Bijan was closer to probably getting some more love than CeeDee for sure. Comeback player of the year, we both had Rodgers. Rodgers never returned close to form. That was a big whiff for both of us. We both had Latu for the defensive rookie of the year from the Colts. Solid, not great. Offensive rookie year, we had Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, not even a top 3 guy in the voting for this process, unfortunately.
I think he was a finalist at least, but
yeah, if top 5 is fair, you got to throw him in there. Coach of the year. Now, this is the interesting one, folks. I had Matt Eberflus fired midseason. Brady had Robert Saleh fired midseason. We went all in on our picks for coach of the year, and they did not hit at all. But hey, next year, I promise we will not go 0 for 14 or 0 for 16 like we did. I feel like that's impossible. We'll be better ahead of that.
Like last year, I think I was like 5 for 7, and then this year, just nothing.
Nothing. They threw you. Hey, they threw you on Blitz Sports Media, and now you're a fade god.
Right, dude. Literally.
All right, so let's get into the awards. We are going to start with the most valuable player award here, Brady, and tell me who it is.
It's got to be Lamar Jackson. I think Josh Allen had a phenomenal year. Saquon Barkley, great year. We'll talk about him later on in the show. And, Joe Burrow, the Bengals that had some more success, could have been in this conversation. But Lamar Jackson, he led the league with an 8.6 touchdown percentage. He led the league in pass rating, 119.6. Had a touchdown to interception ratio of 41-4, 5,000 total yards, only 8 turnover-worthy plays. I know the Ravens were only the 3 seed. They finished a game behind Buffalo and ended up losing to Buffalo in the playoffs. But as we know, this is a regular season award. I feel like Lamar Jackson elevated his game to a whole nother level. He's still only 27 years old, so I'm definitely excited to see what the future holds for him. Hopefully we get some more postseason success from number 8 at some point in the near future. But for now, he can hang his head on being a 3-time MVP at the age of 27. That's as many as Tom Brady won. That's more than Mahomes has right now. Like, that's a pretty crazy number when you really think about it and think about the trajectory of Lamar's career, especially the pre-draft narratives about him. This is a guy that, everybody is saying should move to receiver. This is a guy that a lot of people thought wasn't going to work out in the NFL. And then even once he started having success early on, they thought he was a gimmick player. It wasn't going to last. His playing style isn't going to be sustained. And Lamar has only gotten better and better. The Ravens were an elite offense this year, and he's still done all of this without ever having a true X receiver. So to me, it's Lamar Jackson.
Yep, and I think Lamar Jackson will be getting my vote as well. I was on the Josh Allen train for as long as I could be on the Josh Allen train. I said this was his year. I kept saying it, and then Lamar Jackson just kept outplaying him down the stretch at the end of the season. It didn't matter that the Bills had a better record than the Ravens because Jackson's stats are just that much better than Josh Allen's, with both their teams being in a close to similar spot, the 2 and the 3 seed in the AFC. Jackson's going to be one of the first 3 seed winners in a long time. 41 touchdowns through the air, and I think that highlights his development as a passer. He threw for 4,000 yards this season, 40 touchdowns. We never would have saw that coming in the past with Jackson as a thrower. We always have known him as an elite runner, but this year he took it to a new level in the passing game. The Ravens' offense was elite with Derrick Henry. That definitely helped him out. And, Lamar Jackson's a special player. I don't want anybody to get that confused. Lamar's a special player. Hopefully his time will come for a ring. But until then, Lamar's still a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to have his 3rd MVP, and it's going to be wrapped up. And I think we can both agree Josh Allen is the number 2 in the voting. But who would you have at number 3?
I think that Saquon would be my number 3. I think that, the Eagles offense has shown to be really good before without him, but that was with Steichen. Last year, obviously, there was a big drop off in the offensive play, and they showed that they needed something else in that offense, or the way that offense fell off. And it proved to be Saquon Barkley. They plugged him in behind a great O-line for the first time in his career, and he rushes for 2,000 yards. I think he would be my third place. Joe Burrow had some good numbers. I think some of those numbers are a little bit, faux, with trailing late in games, kind of padding in some games. I think Joe Burrow had a great year. Don't take it any other way than that. But I think that, to me, what Saquon did was more impressive than Joe Burrow. And I know Jared Goff's also a finalist. I'm not even going to talk about it.
Not even going to bring him up. Yeah. I got Saquon too. One of the best running back seasons of all time. If he gets a Super Bowl, he's probably having the best running back season of all time this year. Let's head into our next category here. We'll talk about Saquon. Offensive Player of the Year. Brady, is it Saquon or Jamar Chase?
To me, it's Saquon. The Triple Crown is impressive, but in the same note, what I said about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase and his team, it didn't translate as much. And, that's not all their fault. The defense was not good, obviously, in Cincinnati. The coaching wasn't great. But we've seen seasons like Jamar Chase's, I think, more frequently than we've seen seasons like Saquon Barkley's. And I know that you can say Derrick Henry also had really similar numbers this year. To me, it just Saquon changed the attitude of this Eagles offense. He changed the identity of this Eagles offense. 8th most rushing yards in a single season of all time. So a top 10 running back year ever statistically. 14th in yards per game for the people that want to bring up 17 games. He wasn't as good as, Dickerson or Adrian Peterson, in my opinion, but still top 15 season ever in terms of yards per game. 2,283 all-purpose yards, 15 touchdowns, and he was the reason that the Eagles were the top EPA rushing offense in the National Football League. I think Saquon has got to be the Offensive Player of the Year, and there would be a lot of other years where Jamar Chase won it, but unfortunately, I don't think this season is one of them.
Yeah, I don't think it is either for Jamar. I think, the record's the biggest thing for me. Saquon's team had a great record in the regular season. Chase's team missed the playoffs, and that factors in a lot more. I know the Offensive Player of the Year is a little bit different than the MVP voting, where the MVP basically relies on you having to have one of the top records in the league. Offensive Player is going to play out similarly. Barkley's had a great season, and man, if this award was voted on after the postseason, Barkley would be a surefire lock for this award, despite Jamar being a Triple Crown winner, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if he is one of the first Triple Crown winners not to win Offensive Player of the Year at the wide receiver position. But we all know how great Chase is, but it's Saquon Barkley's award this year. He basically outperformed everybody. And let's get to Defensive Player of the Year. I know you guys are waiting for us to have different picks, and I do think we're going to have different picks here. Brady, who are you going with?
I'm going with Pat Surtain. It was close between him and Myles Garrett, but let me break it down for you. Pat Surtain only allowed 317 yards all season long. He had the second lowest passer rating allowed in the NFL, had the most snaps per target, only got targeted once every 11.5 snaps, highest coverage grade defender in the NFL, and same type of deal as where Saquon led the top rushing EPA offense. So Pat Surtain led the highest EPA defense and highest dropback EPA defense. The Broncos came out of nowhere this year, especially with their defense. They were arguably the best defense of the regular season. I know that Josh Allen kind of picked them apart in the second half of that playoff game, but this is a legit, really good defense. If you remember, even in that Chiefs game, Broncos lose 16-14. They shut down multiple good offenses. The only good offense that really tore them apart was the Ravens, 41-10 around midseason. But Pat Surtain had an awesome year. It's really hard for a cornerback to win Defensive Player of the Year. We've only seen in the last 15, 20 years, I think Charles Woodson and Stephon Gilmore being the only two to do it. I think Patrick Surtain II will join that group. I believe he's the betting favorite right now, if I remember that correctly. Yep. And I think that he's done more than enough. The other thing with these DBs is you got to have signature plays as a DB to win this award. He had a really long pick six in those throwback uniforms early in the year. I remember people were talking about that being a DPOY type of play. He had the punch out against T. Higgins in that Week 17 game that ultimately the Broncos ended up losing in OT, but it helped bring them back into a position to win. I just think Pat Surtain is a special player. I think he's the best cornerback in the league, just ahead of Derek Stingley right now and Trent McDuffie. But that's who I'm going with. And Myles Garrett, if the Browns had been a little bit better, I'd won some more games. I think he'd have a better argument because he is such a dominant defender. But I'm going with PS2.
And I'm going with Garrett here. I just think that, like you mentioned, it's hard for a cornerback to get this award. And I think this is the best chance a cornerback has had in a long time. And I don't know, the voters here always seem to go against the trend. Like last year, a lot of people thought it was going to be TJ Watt. Garrett won it. I think this is a vote where it's going to be a little closer than people think. And I just want to go against the grain here. And I'm going to say it's Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett is still the best defender in the NFL. He's an elite run defender. He's an elite edge rusher. He goes after triple teams almost weekly. Like, he is an absolute force to be reckoned with. And if we are really voting on who the best defensive player in the NFL is, it's Myles Garrett. And I think no one really will argue that. And despite the Browns having a bad season, Garrett still had a great season, still had a Myles Garrett type year. And who knows, he might not even be a Cleveland Brown next year. We'll see. But
Dude,
honestly,
I think that he would go. Like, if he would certainly go to a winning team. It's crazy to like picture him somewhere else. It wouldn't happen. It'd be dope to see him on the Ravens, I feel like. Honestly, what if he went to Buffalo? We talked about them needing an elite edge. That would be sick. But I think if
I
he
would
did,
be surprised if they would trade him inside the AFC.
I was gonna say probably to the NFC. Dude,
I could see him and Jared Verse. That would be
imagine him and Micah Parsons.
Oh, that would be something else. Maybe the Commanders. I don't know. We're just throwing names out. We're shooting the shit. But I got Garrett in this one. Let's head to our next award here. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I might have actually spoiled my pick a little bit here, talking about the Rams. But who are you going with, Brady?
I'm going with Jared Verse, and it's a no-brainer for me. Like, this dude could be unanimous. I'm about to tell you his rankings, not among rookies, among the entire NFL, among all edge rushers in the NFL. 9th in pass rush grade, 4th in total pressures, 6th in quarterback hits, and 5th in pass rush win percentage, according to PFF. Like, that's not among rookies. That is among all edge rushers in the National Football League. All these metrics point to him being one of the 10 best edge rushers in the NFL as a rookie this season. He only had 6 sacks, but that's because Fiske, Turner, Young, like those guys were all kind of cleaning things up with his pressures. I feel like when you watch the tape, dude was phenomenal. For a while, it was between him and Quinyon Mitchell, but I think Verse, especially down the stretch, separated himself big time.
Yeah, Jared Verse is the guy here. He's an elite edge rusher as a rookie. We never see that really. Like, this guy's a special talent. The sacks.
2019 Nick Bosa, man.
That's true. But what I'll say with Jared Verse, like, the sacks don't always translate as a rookie. You see a lot of rookies come in, they don't necessarily have the sacks, but they have the pressure rate. Jared Verse next year is a lock for 10 sacks. I'm just going to say that right now. His pressure rates will have a positive regression next year. He will get more sacks. He might draw better offensive line matchups and more double teams like that, but Verse is an elite player. He's only a rookie. He's only going to keep getting better, and Verse is just better. I know Quinyon Mitchell probably going to be the lock for second place here, had a great season, but you could argue that Quinyon Mitchell has not been impactful to his defensive unit. You could argue Quinyon Mitchell might be slightly overrated with how the Eagles use him in coverage. Just a little bit. I'm not going to say completely overrated, but Jared Verse is the best rookie defender, and I don't think there is a very close margin between him and Mitchell. I think it's a pretty wide margin at this point.
Yeah, and by the way, people were saying the same thing about Myles Garrett early on in his career when it came to like the sacks and stuff like that. I remember Myles Garrett's first season or two, people were like not calling him a bust, but they were like, why did this dude go number 1 overall? What the heck? Like, they could have had this and that guy. They could have had Deshaun Watson. Why did they pick Myles Garrett? And now what are we in, like year 8 for him? You're seeing why they picked him number 1.
Yeah, he's an elite player. Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one's tough, man. Like, I know who it's going to be, but there's a lot of elite rookies that were well-deserving of this position.
Okay, so I talked about this being a regular season award, and it is, and I'm not factoring the postseason into why he should win it, but I think it gave me more context as to how impactful this player is. Let me start by saying it probably, if positional value wasn't a thing, it probably should be Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers had like the rookie receptions record. He had the best rookie tight end season of all time. Like, he was on a terrible team, so I think people didn't quite realize how great Brock Bowers was. He was also doing it with like 3 bad quarterbacks throughout the year. This man had Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell, and Gardner Minshew throwing him the rock with a defensive head coach that ended up getting fired. Like, it'll be exciting to see what he can do once he gets a real quarterback at some point in time. But Brock Bowers probably was the best rookie offensively. But for me, it's going to be Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels had the 5th best PFF grade among all quarterbacks in the NFL. He went 14-6 total and went to the NFC Championship for a team that's over-under on wins was at 6.5 in the preseason. He had a better passer rating as a rookie than Cam Newton and Justin Herbert. I do want to just give a little bit of pushback on this being the greatest rookie quarterback season of all time. Team success-wise, I agree. But we got to remember that in that Lions game, the defense forced 4 turnovers. He played well against the Buccaneers. Bucs shot themselves in the foot a little bit, and that's not a takeaway from Daniels, but I don't really think you can use those to say this is the best rookie quarterback season of all time because I went back and looked. I did not realize how incredible Justin Herbert was as a rookie. I think it was like 40 total touchdowns in 15 games, like 4,800 total yards. I remember him being good, and I remember being like,
Herbert's
wow.
rookie season might have been his best career year so far.
Yeah, I remember being like, dang, like he beat out Justin Jefferson too, like who was insane. Like it's a great year. I did not realize looking back at the stats when I was doing this research how good he was. I think Jaden Daniels had a better rookie year than Stroud last year for sure. I think he had a better rookie year than Cam Newton did, than Russell Wilson did, but I'm still giving Herbo that spot for his 2020 season. But overall this year, rookie of the year to me is Jaden Daniels.
I agree with you. It's Jaden Daniels all the way here. And, you mentioned it's not a postseason award. Daniels had a good postseason run. Daniels in the regular season was still a really good player. He turned a Washington team that was picking second in the draft into a playoff team. And if it wasn't for the Eagles having a great roster all around this season, who knows? Maybe Daniels and the Commanders would win a division like the NFC West, like the, NFC. I'm not going to say the North, but the NFC West, they're in there. Then the NFC South, they probably win those divisions, which is not crazy to say. Daniels was elite this year, and a lot of people are going to say Bo Nix had just as good a year as Jaden Daniels in the regular season. Guys, Bo Nix did not. Daniels was able to make things happen with his legs more than Nix. Daniels was able to make things happen more around and down the field with different weapons in that offense. Now, Bo Nix, great year, all-around great year. I mean, Sean Payton, guys, we consider him a great play caller. Cliff Kingsbury had a lot of scrutiny coming back to the NFL. And, Kingsbury had a good year. But to say Kingsbury is better than Sean Payton, I'm not buying that either.
You got our own doubts about Kingsbury, too, once the Commanders had a little slump in November.
Yeah, and I mean, Daniels just has it, man. You look at the fourth quarter. This guy just does not flinch. He rarely makes mistakes in the fourth quarter. He's just a special talent. And like you mentioned, Brock Bowers had a generational season at tight end, the best rookie tight end season we've ever seen. But positional value rules again, and Jaden Daniels is the offensive rookie of the year. Let's get into an award that I know who you're not voting for. Comeback player of the year.
It's got to be Joe Burrow. I mean, it kind of depends on what your criteria is for this. I mean, it's been injury-based before. Last year, they gave it to Joe Flacco for coming off the couch for 6 or 7 games over a guy that died. But, I mean, I think it's Joe Burrow. If you want to argue Sam Darnold, what did he come back from except being ass? I don't know. Joe Burrow, highest passing grade among all quarterbacks, most big-time throws among all quarterbacks, first in touchdowns, first in yards. This is a no-brainer to me. I don't even have to say too much.
I'm actually going Sam Darnold here.
Oof. What did he come back from?
Being ass, bro. You can come back from being ass. Listen, Sam Darnold had a great story this year. I understand he shit his pants at the end of the year and absolutely sucked. But Sam Darnold, we thought this guy was cheeks. He came in and earned himself a
I still couldn't do it for those last 2 games.
The contract's not going to be as fat, but he still earned himself a starting role in the NFL somewhere. And that's a fact. Sam Darnold was just, thrown aside, last-minute free agent pickup from Minnesota. It's just like it's a cool story. Like, I know Joe Burrow came back from the injury, was even better, had a career season. Sam Darnold literally came back from seeing ghosts to being okay. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm vibing with that story more than the Joe Burrow injury story. We know how good Joe Burrow is. Joe Burrow has great weapons, always is going to be good, right? Sam Darnold just surprised everybody this year, and I think this award deserves to have like a surprise factor when you're voting into it. I wasn't surprised Joe Burrow was good this year. Were you?
I was surprised he was that good statistically, but no.
Yeah. So DeMar Hamlin, 0 votes though. 0 votes from us. You will
Yeah,
not be voting for DeMar Hamlin.
it's funny. Sam Darnold could be who Brock Bowers ends up with.
Oh, that might be interesting. Coach of the year, Brady. Who are you picking?
This is why I'm not going with Sam Darnold. It's Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell is the guy running the ship over there. I mean, he was the reason to me that this offense is so successful outside of the surrounding personnel around Sam Darnold with Jay Jettas, Addison, and these guys. I mean, O'Connell took the Vikings his first year, won 13 games, I believe it was. Took them this year, just like the Commanders. Their preseason win total projection was 6.5. They won 14 games. They went 14-3. They win any other division in the NFC. I think I don't know how the tiebreaker would have worked with the Eagles, but they were really, really good. And I had them winning, I think, 3 games in the preseason because I did not believe in Sam Darnold. To his credit, I did not believe in this Vikings defense that also showed up big time. I think it's Kevin O'Connell. They got to figure out how to stop going one and done in the playoffs once they had these big years. But I think it is pretty easily him. I was on the Dan Campbell train, but I thought about it. And I mean, the Lions were supposed to be good. The Lions were coming back from the NFC Championship last year. And I also feel like O'Connell is more pivotal to the success of the Vikings than Campbell is to the Lions. And maybe we'll see. Maybe he proves me wrong next year. Maybe the Lions are a juggernaut even without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I don't know what's going to happen. But to me, it's KOC. And I will say this guy isn't getting my vote, but I think that not enough people are talking about Dan Quinn as a contender for this award. Like, he deserves more love in the conversation.
Dude, Dan Quinn's my pick, and it's probably not going to happen. I think I've stated very clearly Kevin O'Connell was my pick all season. Dan Quinn just won my vote. I know he's not going to win. I know the postseason success does not go into it, but I mean, this guy turned one of the least talented defensive units into a competent unit this year at times, making big plays at times. He was able to completely revitalize a culture in Washington that has struggled so badly. It's been 20 years since this team actually was halfway decent. And I mean, Dan Quinn completely shifted it in 1 year. He brought in the right coordinators. He brought in the right personnel. He brought in veterans that helped this team. And it's just looking up for Washington now. We would never, heading into like the draft at last year's point, we're like, well, they hired Dan Quinn. They're not going to go anywhere. Dan Quinn proved everybody wrong this year. Jaden Daniels proved a lot of people wrong too. And the Commanders deserve some love in these awards. They really do. The Commanders were one of the most surprising teams of the year.
They're getting the Rookie of the Year, man. That's the love they're getting.
That's the love they're getting. They only get a little bit of love. Assistant Coach of the Year, Brady, who are you going with? Cliff Kingsbury should be on this list.
Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's my pick. Just talked about him. Lions offense averaged 33 points per game. Amon-Ra was an all-pro. Penei Sewell was an all-pro. Jared Goff had a huge year. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery was the best running back tandem in the NFL. Jameson Williams broke out in the games that he played. I just think the Lions offense was an absolute juggernaut. And by the way, I got to say, Lions fans, I'm talking to you. All you guys that are like trashing Ben Johnson or saying that he gave up or sabotaged the game, you guys are losers. You guys are actual losers that are used to being losers and probably will be losers after he's gone. It's crazy to suggest that a guy that went out and scored 31 points and had his quarterback turn the ball over 4 times is at fault. And they're like, oh, well, he gave Jameson Williams the ball on a trick play. I guarantee you that play calls for JMO. If the read isn't there, throw it away. And JMO threw it into triple coverage. That's not Ben Johnson's fault that the Commanders guarded it well and JMO made a dumb throw. You guys are stupid for thinking that Ben Johnson, he was focused on the Bears. That's why we lost. He did. Bro, be mad at Aaron Glenn. Be mad at Jared Goff. Be mad at Dan Campbell. Don't be mad at Ben Johnson. To me, he is the best assistant coach in the league this season. I want to say my honorable mention is Vic Fangio for what he did to that Eagles defense that just completely fell off the tail end of last year. This year, make a really good case that they're the best defense in the NFL. They're in the Super Bowl with a pretty revamped defense. I mean, you got year 2, Jalen Carter. Year 2, Nolan Smith. Rookie, Cooper DeJean. Rookie, Quinyon Mitchell. You brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson on a cheap deal. Like, you brought in Zach Bond, who was a special teamer in New Orleans, and turned him into an all-pro middle linebacker in the middle of the field. Like, Vic Fangio has been phenomenal. I just wanted to give him a little bit of love as my honorable mention, but it's Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I got Ben Johnson too. I think that's a clear-cut favorite. I mean, their offense has been historic now for 3 straight seasons, and this year was even better at a different level. And you're right. The Lions fans that say that are just emotionally damaged right now that he's going to a division rival, and they're not taking it very well. Like I said, though, I think Cliff Kingsbury should be in here over Brian Flores. Brian Flores had a solid year for the Minnesota Vikings. Cliff Kingsbury had a great year, I think, for the Washington Commanders offense. That's just my personal opinion. I might be a little Commanders high today.
Here's the thing. I think that the Vikings defensive unit was objectively like pretty clear cut better than the Commanders offensive unit was. Like,
see, the thing is though, is like the Vikings defense, right? We expected middle of the pack, like middle or bottom third. Commanders offense, I'm like, dude, this team is a bottom 5 offense. Like I think Cliff did more with less for them than
one guy
Flores did.
That I want to give a quick shout out to, though, he's getting clowned for being cringe, but Liam Cohen, by the way. Liam Cohen.
He does deserve some love.
They lost Dave Canales. Everybody was saying Dave Canales made Baker or whatever last year, which personally I didn't buy into. But they had a pretty bad run game last year. Rashad White was bad. The run game was bad. They brought in Liam Cohen, plugged in a 4th-round rookie and Bucky Irving, who is a talented player, and the run game got instantly better. They were running these outside run schemes that were just cooking other teams. This man, like, the Bucs really didn't miss a beat with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both missing a bunch of time. Chris Godwin was out for the year after his injury, and the Bucs just kept going. Baker Mayfield had an even better year than last year, so shout out Liam Cohen. Stop judging him off a press conference. The Jaguars will probably be way better next year.
All right, but hey, we really appreciate you guys tuning into our award show. Let us know down below if we got any of these awards wrong. Hit that subscribe button for more Blitz Sports Media content, and we'll catch you guys next time.